I was about to start a video about something completely differently when you alerted me that there are two children missing in Nova Scotia, Canada, and the similarities to the Sebastian Rogers case are absolutely eerie. So that is Lily and Jack. Lily and Jack are their names. Lily and Jack Sullivan are missing and they are considered autistic, both of them. So, what I saw just now were two interviews. One was not really an interview, it was the stepfather, right? Sweetie Pilo, thank you so much. She says, oh, this is the mother's boyfriend Daniel. Of the two missing cutie pies out of Canada, Lily and Jack are their names. Oh God, he refers to them to the past in the past tense. Let's see what he is saying. They're like best friends. That's just brother and sister. Here we go. Jack just absolutely loves bugs, dinosaurs, anything like that. But Lily loves girly things, but she also loves doing everything with Jack, bugs. They're like best friends. Loved. Loved. He's talking about them in the past tense. At first, in the first part, he is talking in present tense. I can let you hear it again. I just brother and sister. Jack just absolutely loves bugs, dinosaurs, anything like that. But Lily loves girly things, but she also loves doing everything with Jack, bugs. They're like best friends. That's just brother and sister. So he cannot get his tenses straight. First, he is being referred to in the present tense and her in the past tense twice. He has a hard time keeping this straight. And what he does is what I call active crying. It is called active crying. I call it that because when you saw Seth crying several times, he was trying not to cry. And the reason he was trying not to cry was because he, as he stated himself, this is not about me. This is about finding Sebastian. This is not about his emotions. It's about going forward, moving forward, and finding his son. So, of course, it is hard for him to hold back his tears. But when he is on camera, he is not making it that visible. It happens. This is active crying, where the crying is a part of the statement, in my opinion, because he wants to be seen crying. I cannot give you a detailed rule on that. This is me from my experience, having seen I don't know how many cases. And when I see a cry, I immediately know sometimes there's something wrong. The same way I saw, and I'm going to talk about this later on in another interview, Susan Smith. I remember watching them, her and her husband, 30 years ago. And immediately, I didn't know what it was, I zoomed in on her. And back then, people were very unlikely to believe that the mother could have done this, could have killed her own children, as Susan Smith did. And I remember being told by several people, yeah, I shouldn't think along these lines, right? But there was something about the contrast between Susan Smith, the way that she came off, and the way that her husband came off. Let me see if I actually can find this real quickly. Susan Smith and her husband. I just can't express it enough that we just got to get them home. You know, it's really weird. The last time, okay, here. I just can't express it enough that we just got to get them home. That's just where they belong, with their mom and daddy. I want to say it to my babies that your mama loves you so much. We just want them home. Wait 1 second, people. I just can't express it enough that we just got to get them home. That's just where they belong, with their mom and daddy. I want to say it to my babies that your mama loves you so much. Okay. There. This is what I'm going to talk more in my next video. Just. They always refer to them as babies in certain situations. As babies. Now let's listen to Mama. Let's listen to the mom of Jack. Let's hear this. What's their name? Lily and Jack. Not Jack and Jill. Lily and Jack. Oh.
Getting out of sleep, and they're not the type of kids that we as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always watching them. I'm just staying as hopeful as possible.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible.
Them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet. And we get up, and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. We get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off.
They talk your ear off. No, that's not expected. Even though that is not as bad as saying he's known for defecating on himself. That is not as bad as Chris was doing it, but it is still unexpected, people. It is unexpected that you would say about your own missing child, they are talking your ear off. Remember what I stated before. When they say anything that could be interpreted as negative about a missing child, they are likely to tell you why, from their point of view, the child is missing. The adoptive father of Orson and Orrin West talked about how rambunctious the children are. Of course, they were not missing for a few days. They had not even moved from Bakersfield with them, if you remember that case. But it's a prime example of victim blaming people. I hope I am wrong about this, but there's much more in the statement actually, and it's eerie how similar. I wasn't going to go straight on camera. I was going to transcribe a lot of things, but you know what? I heard this for a few minutes, and the similarities to Sebastian Rogers are absolutely striking. Wow. Let's finish this one.
They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility, but they could have been. But just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and
we just want them home. Look at my writing, if you can decipher my handwriting. Chris Watts said, I just want them to come home. Just minimizes. When you do the term just, it can minimize significance. It can also minimize time. You are supposed to be selfish as a parent. When I hear I think about, Dad, I just need another $5 to get some popcorn at the movies when I go. You have a right to your own child. It's more like a demand. I need my child. And it is not supposed to be overly verbalized, but expressed in several ways. When I showed you Susan Smith and her husband, I remember 30 years ago, I didn't pay attention to the statements, but just the facial expression, the lack of any kind of expression, of a major expression on Susan Smith. And then I look at her husband, the contrast was so stark because he wasn't crying. I'm sure he was holding back tears, but you could just feel from him the tension, the pressure, the sadness, the desperation, the fear for his kids. You could just feel it. So, the one thing I don't want people to have is tunnel vision, meaning I need to only look at statements. The statements to me are the most important thing. And many times, but I prefer actually written statements, to be honest with you guys. I prefer not to know too much about a case, but only have the statements right there in front of me because the statements speak. But I cannot ignore what I notice. I cannot ignore when, and by the way, don't listen to the behavior panel or any of these people that think they have the rule book for body language. In my opinion, it is an SCAM. But what is not a scam is your intuition. And your intuition can be tainted by false information. So we have to always be careful with that. and we have to have the statements there to keep guiding us. But when you look at something like Susan Smith and her husband and her statements, and she says that your mama loves you so much. She doesn't say, I love you so much. Your mama loves you so much. I want to say to my babies that your mama loves you so much. This is Katie Foot right there. I want to say, she said, I want to say to my son. And finally, she gotten closer to saying, I love you, but she was still not able to say it, Katie Foot. She was not able to say it. You can watch my older videos. And she doesn't say, I love you either. Susan Smith didn't. She said she wants to say that she loves Sebastian, or sorry, she wants to say she loves her babies. Babies are helpless. She's putting them in a vulnerable state. She doesn't say, my kids, if you have my children, and please, I love you guys, please fight, run away, be active. When you call them babies, you already label them as helpless. You already put them in a category of them not being able to do anything on their own. I will finish this one and then I listen to it again with you guys.
They do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds.
She's thinking about last night was one of the worst nights. Exactly what Chris Watts said. I think it was actually on Sweetie Pilo's live that we talked about. We had the video side by side. The videos of Chris Watts and the Proudfoots. And Chris Watts talked about last night. It was the worst night because his children were not there. You're not supposed to think too much about last night. Last night is a stepping stone to finding your children. Everything now is a stepping stone towards it, and the only goal is to find your kids. You're not supposed to reminisce too much. Everything that stands out where you say, this is not what I would do if my child was missing. This is not how I would react at all. This is strange to me. Never ignore that. Even if you cannot figure out immediately what this is. But if it is strange, bring it to my attention. Or mention it in the live chat. Anything that is strange and sticks out where you cannot just move past it. I didn't know who Melissa Proudfoot was when I first read her statement. It became clearer and clearer. I had the urge immediately to analyze it, but I delayed because I thought I had to first get to Katie Foot. I had to first listen to her new interviews. She had just given 2 new ones at the time. But I should have listened to my intuition and say, I drop everything. I don't know how significant this is, officially speaking, but I sense something here that I cannot get past. So we have our, you can call it God-given or nature-given intuition to protect us. It protects us from getting into bad situations, and we have it. A child, very often, children can sense Children can sense people. And many times a child will say, I don't like this teacher. I don't like this priest. I don't like this rabbi, this pastor. I don't like this person. I feel awkward around this person. And then others will say, well, this is an honorable man. This is a great teacher. This is a man of God, and this and that. So as we get older, our intuition often gets overshadowed. And I see it with my daughter. There are certain people she just doesn't like. And I understand it why. I understand why. Because I allow myself now to have my own intuition as well. And there are other people she is just drawn to. And of course, grown-ups often they sometimes think, they look at things from different angle. I know parents who try to tell their children whom they should play with and whom they shouldn't play with. And much of it has to do with the position of the parents, the social standards, the social, the how wealthy they are, and so on and so on. But kids go by whom they feel comfortable with. And as times change, unfortunately, we often let go of our own intuition. So, in this particular case, when I saw this guy, her boyfriend, with his crying, and I compare that to Susan Smith's husband, who's trying to keep his face straight, I feel like he is putting energy into crying, while others put energy into holding back their tears because they don't want their own emotions to interfere with what they're hearing right now, with what they're able to say. They really want their children to be found. I almost said they just want their children to be found. But it's true, they just want their children to be found, and there's nothing as priority. Like with Seth Rogers, you can come at him in so many different ways. All these hate channels, all of that. But he is not hitting back like Chrisford does when people talk about him. Because that's nothing. That's just BS.